It's me again, Robert. I'm going over the intervals from last time. See if we can't get that focused a little bit better. On the whiteboard, I've got two different diagrams. The one on the right is the one that I posted originally, showing our sectors for twos, minor second, major second, sectors for threes, same, sixes, and sevens. Your perfect fourth and your perfect fifth, and then the flat five, that acts kind of like a pivot point the way that I look at it. Music is very subjective, and it's as easy as you want it to be, or it's as complicated as you need it to be. But I'm going to try to demystify for a lot of y'all that are trying to grasp what harmony is. How do you use it? There's some schools that want you to learn modes, like in jazz. But you'll find, if you try to play jazz, that none of the chords are within a specific key. You have a lot of dominants that kind of or things might go from one key to another, whatever. So I try to look at it more chord to scale. And the only way to do this, and I know for a lot of the shred guys that do all the three finger stretches, you can still apply it. What I'm about to show you, it just falls differently. The saving grace for the guitar is that these strings are tuned in fourths for the major, or for the most part. Those are fourths. Those are fourths. Those are fourths. It's a third. That's a fourth. So I can play a pattern like this, say a G major arpeggio, and when I move up to the octave, the pattern is the same. If I move up to the octave, pattern is the same. So you can have a exercise where you're playing, root, major third, fifth, root, major third, fifth, root, major third, fifth. Okay? And I know a lot of guitar players, myself included, is very pentatonic based. So, our minor third is here, or our minor chord. So our minor third would be here. Right? But starting out, you really want to focus on the four finger method, so that your root would be like shown right here. On the E string, it's 5-7. That's your root and your second. And then you come up to the A string, and that's your 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. So that would be your third, your major third, your perfect fourth, and your perfect fifth. And then you move up again on the next string, and it's 4, 6, 7. Right? And that would be major 6, major 7, and octave. So that's root, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, perfect six, major six, major seventh, and an octave. And now, the main reason why I want you to look at it this way is because of, again, those fourths. They have a very interesting relationship to how these intervals work. Like, say, for example, if I wanted to play a minor third, I move that major third down one. Right? So if we go up to, say, a major 6, right? The 6 and the 3s, there's your majors, major third, major 6. Down here's your minor third and minor 6. Now listen, I'm going to play a minor third to the root. And it kind of sounds minor, whereas major has like a more lifted sound. Minor. And again, because of those relationships, which if you look here, coming from the octave and the root, and you see the pattern, those 6s and 3s, they kind of swing on that little pendulum in my head. But you can hear it. Like, say for example, if I play a major 6 to the root, it still has a lifted sound. Whereas I play a minor 6, it's going to sound minor. Or if I even was to play root minor 3rd minor 6, it's melancholy. Begs for resolution, which is the minor triad. It's very Beethoven sounding. So how do we use this when we're like playing over a chord? So if I've got an A minor, okay, I know I'm going to be playing a minor 3rd, and I have an option. I can either play the minor 3rd on the A string, or I can play the minor 3rd on the E string. Most blues guys would prefer to play it right here, right? But we also have octaves. Remember this? So I come up my octave, and it's that same shape. So I can play a open A string, and then right there's going to be a minor 3rd. Your other minor 3rds down here. That makes sense. Because the octaves are spread out. You skip a string, and it's 2 frets up. On the next set of strings, you skip a string, and it's 3 frets up. Right? So that same would apply for the D string. Octaves are going to be the 4 fret span. And the G string, octaves are going to be the 4 fret span. So let's work on an arpeggio. Let's do, again, an A major arpeggio. Right? But it also falls like this, which we all play that when we play our bar chord, because it's these 3 strings here. And if we wanted to make it minor, our middle finger here would have to fall down. So that's minor. A prime example would be, you know, we all know the name of the song. So, coming to the point rather quickly, I look at it chromatically. If I'm going to be playing over an A minor chord, and say I'm going to build all this around the A minor pentatonic. So if you don't know the A minor pentatonic, it's 5/8, 5/7, 5/7, 5/7, 5/8, 5/8. So the 5s and the 8s are going to be on your low E and the high E string and the B string, and then all the other ones are going to be 5/7. So 8/5, 8/5, 7/5, 7/5, 7/5, 8/5. And all we're doing is outlining these intervals: root, minor 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, flat 7, octave. And it repeats: root, minor 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, flat 7, octave. So a lot of blues guys make their living off of those. I added a color note. I added the flat 5 because I think chromatically. Even in a minor chord, I might throw in a major 3rd. country will do that. Because it's a passing tone. Right? But let's look at the Aeolian scale, which is like the pentatonic. This is also the natural minor, but it's going to be root, major second, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor six, minor seven, octave. Now remember, our minor thirds and minor sixes kind of go along together. There are scales where they don't, but for this one, they do. Natural minor, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, octave, and the same repeats. So 8, 7, 5, 8, 6, 5, and this would be a 7, 5, right? 7, 5, or 7, 5, 4, 7, 5, 8, 7, 5, 8, 7, 5. Okay, but there's all these little notes that we're leaving out, right? And down here, we're leaving out this one. You can hear how it doesn't fit, right? But we can use those to color our sound. So say, for example, again, I'm going to do an A minor 7 chord. So that I'm just barring, and I'm just adding the fifth on the A string. So this is 5, 7, 5, 5, 5, 5. Right? So now I can play any note out of that scale and it will work over that. Some notes might work better than others. You might not want to stop on, say, that note. Because the minor 6, it does have a tendency to pull or push to a new chord. So when you use that to kind of color your chords, like it's almost ambiguous. It's a little confusing. Can alter things a little bit. But just to give you an example of a kind of like a bluesy, jazzy style lick, all based around the natural minor scale, but I'm going to be using like a minor second to the major second, just like I was using the minor third to the major third. And again, that would all depend on what the band's doing. Might not make sense now, but if you was just to pull up some kind of backing track that plays the chords for you and just have a static chord and experiment with the tonality of what all these different intervals do. Like, say we'll switch to A major. You can almost hear how it kind of pulls away from the root. So the best approach, in my opinion, and it might not be the right one for you, but would be to kind of learn how scales and chords work. Because all a chord is a selection of notes from that scale. Like I said before in a previous video, like our major arpeggio, the way that I'm going to be playing it, root third, fifth, right? It's monotonous right now because it's more practicing. But if we learn where all those notes are and how they fall, right, we can start making music with it. Paul Gilbert style string skipping, A minor. So here's your arpeggio. One was root, minor third, fifth. The root's on the E and the other notes are on the following string. And then find the octave. Right? So instead of jumping up to here, Paul would actually just play these two notes right here. So I would have the 3 note, and then I would just add the A minor. But I'm going to play them together, so it goes. Right. Some unique things to address, and I'll close this because we're almost getting to 20 minutes. Certain notes will balance out other notes, and a lot of it has to depend, from my perspective, whether it's a minor third or a major third interval. Let's just take a normal chord block, and this is just a 3-note grip. So I'd have root, and this is E, right? I'm going to do the major third, which is G sharp, and then I'm going to add the fifth, which is a B. So that would be 7 on the A string, 6 on the D string, 4 on the G string. Okay, these intervals are major third. Okay, the next one, this pairing, ring, index finger, that's a minor third interval. Right? But when played together, they balance. Now we can move that around so that the major third's down here, the minor third's up here, and that makes a minor chord. So the only difference there, instead of playing the 6 here, we're playing the 5. Okay. So we can also do like a augmented fifth. So I would raise the fifth. Okay. Almost getting into like film score territory with this one. And then the last of the triads would be the diminished, and that would be minor, minor, whereas this was major, major. We're stacking 2 major intervals. Diminished is minor, 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 minor. If you're a guitar player and a fan of Yngwie Malmsteen, then you know all about the whole diminished. Or even King Crimson, they love that too. But I can't remember where I was going with that. Anyway, the way chords balance. Say for example, if I was to move these notes around, so instead of having my third here, I'm gonna bring it up the octave. Still keep my root note, and when you bring a third up an octave, that's technically a 10th. You just add 7 to it. So like Eric Johnson, and all these these are technically considered 10th chords because of the octave displacement. So it'd be no different than doing. Right? Steve Moore style. Again, I'm only using 3 notes. I'm using root, fifth, and a third. And I might play, say for example, E minor. Okay. Or I can do an augmented fifth, which ain't going to fry your brain too much, but you can look at that as a C. Right? Even though it's technically E augmented 5. Or major third, root, fifth, major third. So everybody that is familiar with like bar chords like this, okay, all those notes that I just played are in there. Okay, from the low E string, our major third is going to be on the G string. We can add other notes. Like say I'm going to start with adding root, fifth, and I'm going to right now just call it a major third. If I was to do this, I'm actually adding that octave, playing a bar chord. So there's 4 notes, but I'm technically only playing 3 because those are in unison, or actually an octave apart. Same pitch though. So it still consists of E, B, E, G sharp. Okay, some color tones. If I was to take the octave and then come down 1 half step, right? Keep these notes the same and just play this note. That would be E major 7, because E major, that tells you there's a major third in it. And a major 7th is going to be your major 7th. So if we come up to our chart here, 1 step from the octave is our major 7th. But listen how pretty this sounds versus how ugly this sounds. Right? Because there's only like 1 fret difference between this. This is consonant. That's pretty dissonant. But the fact that we've got this major third right there, right? And a fifth right there. Right, was that a fourth? Fourth right there. So a third and a fourth, they kind of balance each other out. So let's look at something like a dominant chord. So now E dominant is going to be a major chord, but instead of an octave or a major 7th, we're going to do a flat 7th. Right? This is typical blues and jazz. I'm doing is playing our major third. That note right there is the flat 7, and that right there is the 5th. So from high string to low, I'm playing E, B, G sharp, D, B, E. So B7 would be the same thing. It's just a bar chord up. The interesting thing about this is now we have a tritone buried within that chord, but balanced out by those other notes. And it's not as harsh. And to like that little lick I just did, if I know this right here is my root, okay, I know this right here is also B, it's an octave. And if I'm playing a major third, right, so I can play like a, because this right here is major third, root, flat 7. Okay. And I'm just add like the little suspended fourth to the third, perfect fourth and third, fifth, come down to my dominant 7th, 5th. That was an octave, by the way. And again, I'm doing that little trick in like blues and country. That's technically a minor third. But it has a dominant sound to it. Another little trick would be like, say if we're doing A minor, come back to A, and we come up to our minor third, right? Then this next note right here is going to be a perfect fourth, and this next note right here is our 5th. But to give it a bluesy sound, remember how most blues go. That flat 5. So this is 1, minor third, right? 4th, then our flat 5 would be right there, in between the 4 and 5. 4th interval, 5th interval, flat. So you can do like a little bluesy type of thing. And all of those is 4, flat 5, minor third, 4, flat 5, minor third, 4, flat 5, minor third. Okay, so that should give you guys some things to play around with. I have a different way of looking at it, and I know it's very difficult for me to try to explain it, and I'm still working on it. So please keep the questions coming in. I'm going to end this with kind of describing the clock behind me. It is my contention, my belief, that all of us have been trained music theory since the day we were born. You have 7 notes in a major scale. You have 7 days in the week. You have 12 slots on a clock that repeat twice. So technically we live a 2-octave day. 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, back to 1, right? So it keeps going and going and going. And it just so happens that the clock is very representative of how the strings run. You got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. And if you look at the clock right here, you can kind of see how those relationships, at least in my mind, and I will expand a little bit on it. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to describe this, what words to use that aren't going to be so radically associated that I blow somebody's brain up. How you have your major 7th and your minor 2nd. All of these are always going to add up to 9, right? And if you look at it this way, it's when you're dealing with inversions. Like, say, for example, if I play from the E octave, okay, but I'm going to play a minor third down. Well, what interval is that, right? Minor third down. Well, if you look over here, your minor third down, if you looked on the opposite side, it's going to be your major six. And lo and behold, if this is a perfect fifth, right, and that's a minor six, then that would be a major six. That's what we was playing. So you'll run into situations in, like, say, classical music especially, to where they start playing all these inversions. Right? Might have been the best one. Those are all A minor. Right? If this is an E major, or an E major, E major, E major, and all I'm doing is alternating. So, like, from here it'd be root, third, fifth, but up here it's third, fifth root, and down here it's fifth octave root, or a fifth octave third. So this is a lot of the Van Halen style. Try not to get a copyright strike. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I know I'm rambling, and I know a lot of this does not make a lot of sense. Because it is so simple, we tend to demystify or mystify it and take it from the ground and then shoot it straight up into the atmosphere, try to make it so complicated, when ultimately a lot of what we're doing is simple numbers. Right there's your chord. That would be how you would write out a major seventh. It's root, third, fifth, seventh. Root, third, fifth, seventh. That. Okay. If we wanted to do a dominant, then we would just write a flat symbol, which means that we're going to move that seventh down to its flat seven. So that's your dominant chord. And if you can practice, really hone it down on 3 strings, so that you go 3rd, 5th, flat 7th, you'll start to see how a lot of the like walking bass lines go. It's going root, 3rd, 5. What is that? A major 6, flat 7, major 6, 5. Because a lot of bass players, all they're doing is going to be playing arpeggios or a variation of such. You can also write out scales that way, which is one of my favorite things to do. So we'll just start out with this basic major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's that. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Your 8 would be the octave. And we can do, say, like a melodic minor. You just flatten the 3rd. Right. What would be another good one? The one that I played the other day is a little crazy. We're gonna have a 1, right? Flat 2nd. Major 3rd. That's a 4th. And then the pattern repeats over here from the 5th. So it'd be a 5th, a minor 6, a major 7, and then the octave. So the 5th, flat 6, a major 7, and then that repeats. And this is kind of like an Indian scale. It's interesting because there's actually a chromatic note between here, here, and your 7. So when it goes, you got to actually start the next scale right there. What in the world? Anyway, send me your questions. That's how we both learn. That's how you'll probably help me get a little bit further in this, kind of at a stalwart. I don't know whether to approach it from a dark to light aspect of how chords move. If you listen to a lot of Bach, you can hear how some chords that he uses in the context of how the other chords fall around it, that he might be playing a major chord, but it kind of has a melancholy or sadness to it. It's all about perception. Your root note is the main gravity. That is what all these other notes are pulling toward. It just depends on how you use it. But that's it for now. Like I said, if you have any more questions or you want me to expand upon some of the stuff that I've touched. A lot of this is unscripted. I'm just doing this late night, just trying to help some people out within threads on Reddit. If you guys can help me pull some of this together, it would help me a lot in the best way to kind of get my ideas across, because I do ramble, if you haven't noticed. But I appreciate your time and good luck. Have a great day.